Dang, guys. Welcome to the Yanagida Podcast Show, episode 34. Dang, it's crazy. It's already 34 episodes, Dodie. I'm with Dodie today, the guy who's behind the scenes, making sure all this happens. So, we wanted to do some questions from you guys to us. So, thank you guys for asking the questions. And Dodie, where can they reach out and send us questions?
You can reach out at us at Yanagida Fitness or at Justin Yanagida on Instagram all the time. Not sure about other socials, but I'm sure we'll get that in the description.
Perfect. So yeah, leave your questions. Find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Justin Yanagida. All right, what's the first question?
So the first question would be, what are your top 3 tips for someone starting out on their fitness and health journey?
So this is a good question. So, there's so many things that we can talk about, especially for somebody starting out on their health and fitness journey. So, my top 3 tips for someone starting out or just getting back into the fitness journey would be, number 1, eat earth-grown food. Basically, food grown or raised from the earth. It sounds pretty simple, but it's like vegetables, right? Fruits, beans, nuts, fish, chicken, etc., right? Real simple. And that's just the base of, you talk to anybody, they keep it simple.
Yeah.
Minimizing the amount of science lab foods, which is basically foods that have a bunch of ingredients that we can't even pronounce. Think about the back of Pop-Tarts or Oreos. Like, all those super long words, like, I don't even know what they mean. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know. So, keep it simple. Keep it real simple. Just go to your local farmer's market, pick up a pound of vegetables, whatever you like. If you like a pound of spinach, if you like a pound of whatever is in season, support your local farmers. Now, pretty much at that point, if you want to support your local fishermen and hunters, that's cool too, right? The people that I know that fish and hunt especially, they are one shot, one kill, because they want to make it as humane as possible, right?
Yeah,
they don't want the animal to suffer. They don't even want the animal to know that it was there, right? So same with fishing. It has to be real quick, very humane with the fishing. And so, with that said, if you just do those things, farmer's market, and get your protein from your local hunters or fishermen, you're already kind of like living off the land, and that's pretty healthy in my opinion, without even counting macros and calories and all that complicated stuff, especially if you're just starting out. So, that would probably be number 1, is nutrition. Because anybody, right?
Yeah.
Anybody and everybody can make the easy decision. Well, I shouldn't say that. Simple, not easy. Decision, what to put in their body for fuel, right? Because if you think about it, no one is grabbing our hand and being like, "Oh, I gotta eat this." Nobody's forcing us to eat a cheeseburger.
It's all us.
It's all us. And we can blame our friends for saying, let's go eat McD's, or let's go get some plate lunch, or we can blame others, we can blame the circumstances, we can blame, but ultimately, it's on us.
Yep.
So, that would be tip number 1. The nutrition. Just pretty much eating very simple. Tip number 2 would be to get some sort of daily exercise. Even better, if you guys are watching or listening, just pause this, do some jumping jacks right now, get some, go. Or even better, do some burpees. Get some burpees. Yeah, that's the trainer side of me coming out. I'm just kidding. Maybe I'm not kidding. But go outdoor and go walk your dog. Take your dog for a walk. Go out in nature, hike. Right? What do you like to do, Dodie?
I usually like to go 20-minute runs, 20-minute jogs, not runs,
There you go. That's perfect. So you guys can go for a jog outside your block. You know, if you're someone like me, I like the ocean. And picking up a board activity, whether that's paddle boarding, surfing, canoeing, whatever it is, something is always better than nothing.
Facts.
And so, now for those of you listening, if you're past that initial stage where you're already doing something, then I would recommend some sort of resistance training. And don't get too crazy about it. It can be as simple as some dumbbells, some kettlebells, some calisthenics body weight training to build and maintain your muscle mass. Super important. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, I would recommend a workout with a partner or a group of people who share similar goals. Okay? And the main reason why, of course we want to say, yeah, just discipline and just do it day in and day. Of course. But seriously, there are gonna be days where, and sometimes even weeks in a row, where you feel like you're in a plateau. When we're in a plateau, that's when the thoughts start coming in.
Yeah.
Am I just working out for nothing? Am I doing it? What am I even doing? I feel like I'm wasting my time. You know, and if you have a partner who has similar goals, right? Maybe they can look at the program and say, hey man, we gotta change up the resistance. Or, hey man, maybe we gotta change up, use kettlebells instead. And of course, best of all, join a group fitness workout, a functional fitness. Quick promo, Yanagida Fitness. So, in all seriousness, it's important to have somebody because, like I was just saying, sometimes get difficult. Like how often, Dodi, would you be willing to run and do push-ups and do the same amount of workout that you do here on your own?
Not gonna lie, I mean, like, I'd be able to, but, like, I probably wouldn't have the motivation. Like, I won't have anyone to push me there. Like, be like, yeah, Dodi, come on, just keep going at it, you know. I'd probably just do it, and then, you know, after, like, a few minutes, I'll be like, it's not as fun. It's not, like, too motivational. It's not really, yeah.
Exactly. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. For people listening, and if you're thinking in your head and your ego screaming, well, you know, I would just do it myself. I would just work out on my own. Well, good for you. The best athletes in the world, professional and Olympic athletes, all have, what do they have in common? They all have a coach or multiple coaches, right? Because sometimes we cannot see ourselves objectively, right? Because we get emotional, so we're not rational sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm not really feeling it, so I'm not going to run today. I'm not really feeling it, so I'm not going to do the push-ups, right? Versus you go to a personal trainer, a group setting, or you work out with your partners or your buddy, and it's like, hey man, let's get it on. You ready to do some push-ups? Okay, let's do it, I guess, right? I mean, and it happens. So having people that you can rely on that have similar goals is super important for the longevity of fitness. Because I'm not talking about doing something hardcore on your own for 90 days or even 6 months or a year, right? What we're talking about is fighting sickness with fitness for life, right? And for a life thing, not only is it more effective in studies, but it's just more fun. If you have more fun, you're more likely going to do it consistently for the long term. So that's tip number 2, a group. And just do some sort of exercise. This is a hard one, guys. Tip number 3, there was a bunch of different stuff, but keeping it super simple for beginners and people that haven't worked out in a while, or you're getting back into the workout, it's to drink water. Agua. Mizu. Drink water. I mean, most of us are just, it's scientifically proven. Most of us are walking around dehydrated, right? And a slight dehydration can lower our cognitive performance. I can't remember the exact number. For all science guys out there, leave in the comments. Can't remember the exact number, but a slight dehydration can massively lower our performance, our cognitive thinking abilities, and everything. Yeah. So just drink a lot of water. And a basic rule of thumb is drink half of our body weight in ounces of water. So if I weigh 200 pounds, that's about 100 ounces of water, which is basically 12 to 13 cups of water every single day.
Damn.
So, but to keep it simple, it's basically about 2 to 3 of these hydro flasks every day. That's basically it. And speaking of water, let me get some water, man. I might be dehydrated over here. If you guys are not driving, if you guys are sitting at home, take a sip of water. It's good for us. Yeah. So, water would be tip number 3. And so with that said, guys, for somebody just starting out in their health and fitness journey, number 1, vegetables, fruits, proteins, keeping it super simple, right? Farmers market, your local hunters and fishers and all that good stuff. Tip number 2, exercise daily. Do anything, right? Anything. Number 3, drink a lot of water. Drink a lot of water. Keep it simple. Don't stress too much about, oh, I only drank 90 ounces of water, so I'm no. Just drink water. Just keep drinking. And especially when you're just getting started, don't get complicated, right? What they call the old school analysis paralysis. Don't let that happen. Do the simple things, and the simple things will take care of your health. Boom. So, what's the next question that we had, Dodie?
Wait, let me look for it. So we got something from what one of our viewers asked. Hey Justin, I remember you back from high school, and no offense, but you were a quiet, shy guy who was barely passing classes that we had together. Now you are a source of inspiration to myself and others that it doesn't matter where we start. I want to know what has helped you do and become who you are now.
Well, first off, no offense taken, because that's 100% true. I was quiet and shy and barely passing my classes. I barely graduated, though. So you're way ahead of me, because you're what, senior right now?
Yeah.
And you have what, 4 more months until graduation.
Yeah. Cool.
You have a pretty good GPA, right?
Yeah, pretty decent.
Yeah, not 1.9 like me.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so you're better off than me. So basically, yeah, what he said is 100% true, and the whole inspiration thing, that's awesome. I don't see myself that way. I'm just a normal person, right? I'm just a normal guy, just a son of an immigrant. Just want to help people. That's it. I'm just a normal guy, and so that's awesome. So I appreciate that, and I like how you said no offense part. So it is true, because I was that low confidence shy guy that was target practice for bullies. Right? I get shoved down the stairs. I get beat up on the hallway. Like I would just get not only verbally but physically on multiple occasions. I remember people would hold me one guy each arm, and just one guy just blasting me in the gut, bleeding. Go to the health office because I was scared of them, because they're the popular kids and they're connected and their daddies and all that are they're well-known people, and so I just didn't say anything. I told the health nurse I fell down, and she would just be like, "You did not fall down. You would not have blood coming out of your mouth."
Cool.
And it is what it is, and I forgive them, and I bless and I love them now, so it's all good. But anyway, what changed for me was probably at that age, 15 or 16. I just had enough of it. Honestly, though, there was that point where I was just like, dude, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I am sick and tired of being bullied every single day, living in fear. Okay, like, I would hide in the bathrooms. I was that kid. Didn't want to go to lunch. Didn't want to be seen. I would go in the bathroom, stand on the bathroom seat, and just sit there for 40 minutes. Okay, so put things in perspective, right? So sick and tired of being sick and tired. One day I was in Japan, and there was an MMA fight on TV, mixed martial arts. I can't remember. This is like 2007, 8, something like that. So, but basically, it was a Pride Fighting Championship. If you guys remember Pride FC, that was awesome. That was like the mecca of Japanese MMA. along the same time the UFC was like blowing up. Anyway, it was a guy named Kazushi Sakuraba. I believe he knocked out Ken Shamrock. I believe it was a knockout. But the thing that really did it for me was Sakuraba, the Japanese guy, was smaller than Ken Shamrock. And it was very noticeable. Ken Shamrock was jacked, a jacked wrestler. And Sakuraba, I mean, he looks like a normal guy that works out, but not jacked or anything like that. And when he beat him, and I just saw like how it was possible for a little guy to beat a big guy, I was like, I gotta learn that.
Yeah.
And I told my parents that day, I'm gonna learn boxing. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm gonna learn boxing. Why? No, you don't need to fight. Like, no, just focus on your study, the usual, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I gotta learn how to fight because I need to learn how to defend myself at the bare minimum. And so, fast forward, I think it was 15 years old or so. My friend Ramon, if you're listening to this, thank you again for doing this, man. Signed me up for the Wailuku Boxing Club. This is at Peak Performance at Alamaha Street with Coach Jeff. And man, there were some killers there. And so, long story short, I ended up learning and training jiu-jitsu because there was one day where people were just like grappling on the mats in the cage, and I was like, what are these guys doing? Guys are like choking each other.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating. What is that? And then I saw one of my friends, Greg Wan. He was just grappling, and he was a small guy choking out bigger guys. And I was just like, what just happened? He just tapped out a bigger guy. And I got so intrigued. I was like, what is that? And he said, well, it's just called jiu-jitsu, and, we train here. I said, wow, I got to learn this one day. But anyway, fast forward, and I started learning jiu-jitsu, and then I took up wrestling in my senior year. So, with that, I was getting a little bit more skilled, but I still wasn't confident yet. And so during my wrestling season, one of the more experienced guys, his name was Robin. He's good friends now. He's one of the guys who always pick on me and stuff, but we're cool now. Actually, he comes to work. He used to come work out here, which is pretty cool. Full circle, right? Anyway, so he's one of the most experienced guys there. So of course he has that reputation of, we're gonna introduce that new guy, because I was a new guy coming in as my senior, my first year.
Yeah.
What's up, man? Who do you think you are coming in? That usual high school talk nonsense. Yeah. And so basically he's just like, hey man, let me test myself. And he just came at me. The only thing I remember, I don't remember the middle part, but I remember the beginning and the end. So he double leg takedown, right? He just took me down. Boom, I fall on my back. We start scrambling. We start fighting for head control, wrist control. So he double leg takedowns. Basically, when we're both standing up, he shoots in. He grabs right behind my knees, about my hip, picks me up, and just slams me down. So quickly, I'm scrambling. I'm like, all I know is like basic stuff. I'm still white belt at the time, shrimping, moving around. Got my hips out. Got this position called guard back. I don't remember exactly what happened, but after that, within like 30 seconds, I just threw my legs up. Boom. Triangle choke. And I don't remember what happened. I just remember I was like, oh, triangle choke, squeeze. And I just kept squeezing and squeezing and squeezing. And then, of course, he was like, okay, give up. And, and I let go. I said, cool. We both got back up. Everybody just looked at each other in the wrestling room. The whole team was like, what the hell just happened? Who is this guy, this new guy? And so, and he was all embarrassed, right, Rob? He's like, oh, that was just a fluke. That was a fluke. I shouldn't have charged in so much. And I was being reckless. Warm-up is done.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And then he just attacked me again. I think he ankle picked me. I don't remember what he did. I fell down again. Basically, he took me down, and we started scrambling. And I don't know what happened, but I end up getting on his back. I'm on his back. And I slowly sink in the rear naked choke, right? The one right behind the head. And I don't even know if I was doing it correctly because I barely had any training at that time, but I just sunk it in and squeezed as hard as I can. And he gave up or, tapped out. And once we stood up, the coaches came in the room, right? Because they're like, hey, what is all the commotion? Gather up. We're going to start doing line warm-ups, Coach Manuve. And Rest in Love, Coach Ivy was there too. And so, but before that, like that 1 minute before he came back, it was just disbelief. People were like, what just happened? And that is the power of jiu-jitsu, right? Combat sports in general. Well, particularly jiu-jitsu because we don't have to physically hurt them, right? If I had boxed instead, like let's just say if I decided to strike him in the face and punch him as hard as I can, sure, I might stop him. But what does a punch in the face do to the other guy? Actually gets them more ticked off. Yeah. Dude, if anybody punches you in the face, I mean, you're going to get more pissed off. Like, oh my God, boom. And the consequences are much worse, right? What if I punch him and he bleeds and all that, get a lawsuit? I mean, probably not going to happen. It's Maui. But that can happen. Or even worse, like in the mainland, you hear all the time. Street fight, somebody punches the guy in the face. The guy hits his head on the floor, slams his head, he dies. Yep. You, for self-defense, go to jail for 10, 20 years, whatever it is, manslaughter, some sort of second degree, third degree murder or whatever. Yeah. So compare that to jiu-jitsu, right? You just tangle the person up, you subdue them on the ground, and you put them in some sort of joint or chokehold, and that's it. And the good thing about it is, it's called the gentle art for a good reason, because at the end of those two altercations with this guy, like back to back, we were able to train wrestling that day. Now, if I had punched him in the face and, wanted to go that route and possibly knocked him out, send him to concussion, I might have got suspended at the bare minimum and possibly even expelled, right? Yeah. I was already failing school. And I couldn't fully participate in wrestling because I had a 1.9 GPA. And so, I mean, I literally had no privileges. I probably would have got kicked out. So, jiu-jitsu not only saved me from depression and all aspects of life, but it just helped me in everything. It's so hard to explain. It led me down the route of working out. It led me down the route of learning wrestling. It led me down the route of becoming a personal trainer, going to Florida, right? Being able to muster up courage, because courage isn't the absence of fear, right, Dodi? Courage is facing the fear. And jiu-jitsu really helped with that, because when you're sparring or rolling, you're always having a confrontation with somebody. Right? It's real when someone's attacking you, and whether it's in a training environment, but still you feel the guy's pressure. Someone grabs a hold of you, even in practice. It's like, oh, this is actually real. I gotta move away. I gotta get out. So without going too crazy into jiu-jitsu, because that could just be a whole podcast itself. That was something that really helped me out. And so anyway. Here are some of the mindsets and tactics that are really beneficial to me, and I'm sure there's a bunch more, but here it is. So the first one, waking up before the sun.
Oh, that's a hard one.
Yeah. It was hard for me too. Dude, I used to wake up at noon every day. And someone told me, Justin, nobody wakes up at the crack of noon and gets anything, nobody becomes great waking up at the crack of noon every day. And I was just like, wow, people would always tell me that. Why are you waking up at noon? You can't even say good morning. It's all good afternoon. As soon as you wake up, good afternoon. It's like, whoa, that's not cool. And not only that, but it's critical to getting things done, in my opinion, and the opinion of a bunch of other people. Because waking up early, I mean, not only you're beating a lot of other people and waking up, but you're beating Mother Nature. You're beating the sun coming up, dude. You're beating nature. You're beating the birds. The birds start waking up when that sun pops up, right? So it's a great feeling waking up before the birds and the animals and the insects. There's something special in that like moment. You're wide awake, you're alert, and you're able to get things done. And so, waking up before the sun. Next one, doing some sort of workout every day. I know we just talked about this, but doing something every single day. Whether it be just, I don't know, maybe you're not feeling 100%, just do 50 burpees, right? Just do something. Just do something. Training, right now it's kind of difficult, but when the COVID thing and everything subsides, training some sort of martial art / combat sport, because it's real, right? It's real, especially if it's a contact sport like jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, right? It's real. Like you're not faking those chokes or punches. It's happening. It's none of that, oh, well, if I did this, and then if you did that, then I would go do this to you. It's none of that. It's actual, it's very practical, right? It's real. So, but it also teaches with discipline, patience, humility, and just overall respect, right? We need to bring back that old school, traditional martial way. What is martial arts anyway? Martial being war, art, the art of war. It's like having that mindset, right, of being tactically sound and mentally disciplined and physically tough, but not ever having to exert it, because your body language, your mannerisms, and who you are exert that without even doing anything, right? And so that's why, like, you don't see any type of like jiu-jitsu guys all brash and going crazy and doing nut stuff. You don't see that. Typically, all the guys I train with, even all of the people in the mainland, everybody, the Bruno Malfacinis, the Corbinas, all these guys, world champions, super humble, soft-spoken guy. Hey, my friend, come train my academy. I'm like, oh, very soft, not like, hey, like none of that. It's just like, hey, come train my academy. We'll train some jiu-jitsu. Hey, come. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Super nice guys. And one of the ultimate, in my opinion, is the next one. And getting to where you want to go in anything, in friendships, relationships, career, anything, is humility, right? Because it's the ability to keep our ego in check. Because without it, what happens? My ego takes over. I think my way is the highway. It's either my way or the highway, Dodi. Yeah. You do exactly what I say. Like, nobody likes that guy. Nobody wants to be friends with that guy. Nobody wants to work with that guy. Nobody wants to train with that guy. So keeping the ego under control. Now, I'm not saying to eliminate it, because that's not healthy either. You gotta have a balance. You gotta have a balance of being confident and having that sense of pride in what you do. That's important, and that's part of ego. But you gotta just keep the ego in line with everything else. So let's just say a video game. This is very simple, Dodi.
Yeah.
So in a video game, let's just say you have a level 7 quality and strength, level 5 in mental capacity, level 4 in this, level 9 in relationship ability, whatever it is, right? And then let's just say we have a skill for ego control, whatever. Ego control is like, let's just say ego is at 9. If the ego is at 9 and everything else is a 5 or a 6, that's when it's a problem, right? Because it's like, I have so much pride in what I do and blah, 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 but then your actual abilities are less than that. That's what that means by just keeping it in check. You're not eliminating it, but you're just keeping it in line with everything else, right? Don't be, no need to be meek, and no need to be like, well, I actually don't know anything. I don't know any. You don't have to be that crazy for balance, because sometimes that's not helpful as well, because sometimes that's considered lying, right? If someone's like, oh, I don't know anything, I don't know anything, I'm just learning, you can take the humility thing too far. It's just keeping it in check with everything else. You don't want your ego to be 0 or 1 when everything else is a 7 or 8, right? Because you gotta have pride in what you do, right? I mean, you don't have to, but it's good to feel proud of what you're creating, proud of the relationships you're developing, proud of the family, right? Proud of your heritage, whatever it is. That's great, but just make sure it doesn't go above your actual skills in other areas. So that's what I mean when I say keep your ego in check. And everybody here at the gym probably knows I say that all the time. And so, with that said, don't let the ego explode into unchecked emotion. Listen to other people. If someone says, Justin, I don't agree with what you just said, that is just da-da-da-da. I'm not going to fight back with my ego and say, hey, you know what? No, I'm right because of X, Y, and Z. That's like fighting fire with fire. What do you do in jiu-jitsu, Dodi? You fight fire with what?
I'd say you just put out the fire, like...
With water.
Water, yeah.
Boom. Exactly. You put out the fire. You fight fire with fire. What happens? If you tell me something, right? Let's just say the podcast. You're like, hey, Joss, I want to set up the podcast like this, this, and this. And then I shoot back and say, no, Dodi, that's just ridiculous. I think we should do it exactly like this. Well, how are you going to respond?
You might respond and be like...
You not feel good.
Yeah, I mean, like... Probably won't feel good at first, but I just... In the end, it's like... It's not a direct attack towards me. It's just... What I'm doing, right? It's not like... Hey... It's not like, hey, Dodi, how you set up is trash, therefore you're trash. Like, I won't take it like that. And that's, like... No one should take it like that. More should be like... Hey, he just criticized something I did. Maybe there's actually something wrong with it. Maybe I'm actually in the wrong here. I can actually fix it myself. I think it's just better that way instead of just going, well, no, you're just dumb.
Yeah.
Nah.
And so, but imagine that, Dodi. What sounds better to you? Like, if I tell you, like, my ego gets out of hand and it's like, where you place this camera and the lights, it just, my gosh, like, why did you put it over there? You should have put it on this side. If I did that versus like, hey, Dodi, pretty good setup and, what do you think if we just move the camera just a little bit this way?
I'd like to see it way better.
Of course, right? Yeah. And you're going to respect that person way more. Versus like, hey, this is just a dumb layout. What were you even thinking? That's just, you're not going to want to stay with that person long term. As a trainer, as a coach, as a friend, as a brother, as anything, as a family, whatever. They're not going to want to hang around that person. That's like, you're an idiot, and that's my ego talking.
Yeah.
Right? If I say, whoa, this is just dumb. That is ridiculous. If I do that, that's my ego. What's the opposite? Oh, okay, it's not about me. Okay, got it. It's not about me. I wonder why. So, Dodi, I'm curious. Why did you guys do it this way? Versus, Dodi, this is dumb. Why did you do it that way? I don't even know why you did it that way. This doesn't even make any sense, right? Dodi, I'm curious. Why did you guys do it this way? I want to know. And then at least that way, it's like, oh, yeah, sure. Let me show you why.
Yeah.
And then if it's effective, it's effective. If it's not effective, sometimes when people are explaining it, they're like, oh, actually, yeah, this might not work, huh? Right? Versus me like, this is not going to work. Did you even think about this? Yeah, that's my ego just screaming, look at me, listen to me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God, nobody likes that guy. And I only know that because I had some great, fantastic bosses, right? But then I had a couple who were just like egomaniacs that I didn't know how to deal with because I was too young. I was 18, 19, 20, so it is what it is. But the ego thing is huge, right, Dodi?
100%.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody would stay here if if one of the trainers' ego or my ego was like out of hand and was just like, making snark remarks because I feel like I'm better than somebody. Well, that's a dumb shirt, like that's something crazy like that. Like, my gosh, like it's crazy. So, okay, I'm just beating the dead horse about ego and keeping it in check and humility. Moving on. So the last thing about the mindset and tactic that worked for me is being genuinely kind. Being genuinely kind is a strength. It's not a weakness, right? It's a strength. And then, of course, living with gratitude, being grateful. Because if you think about it, imagine if you're not grateful for who you are, what you have, and who you have in your life right now. If you can't be if you cannot be grateful for the present, I mean, you'll never be grateful no matter what. Because it's always that, I think happiness is over there. I think happiness is over there. I think happiness is the grass is greener on the other side. I think happiness is over there. I think happiness is when this happens. I think it's not true. If we cannot be grateful, and I got this from, I can't remember who said this. It's not happy people who are grateful. It's grateful people who are happy. Right? Think of our parents, right? They both immigrated here, though.
Yeah.
Right? But wouldn't you agree that your parents are grateful people?
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah, dude. What I mean, they probably tell you be grateful, right? Like,
Yep.
I mean, grateful for having food, grateful for having shelter, dude. That's amazing, right? Being grateful for the little things. Like this morning, I was doing my thing in the shower. I'm so happy and grateful for the shower hitting my head. First thing in the morning, I'm like, man. Some places in the world, like in Japan, where my parents were raised in this little house, there's no water that runs that early in the morning. Because it was like some sort of like village system, and it just wouldn't happen. And so for us here, we might take it for granted, like, that's obvious, electricity and water, right? But it's a different sense of gratitude to be able to live that way. And then also, it gives us perspective. My grandfather would always share stories about World War II and how he got drafted to the war, right? His whole neighborhood got killed, and he was the only boy that came back. He got drafted at 16 years old. Younger than you, Dodi, sent to war to kill people. But thankfully, he was able to cook, so he didn't get shipped out. He did his training. He did his whatever, but then they realized he can cook for the troops. So he became a chef. And that's what saved his life. And if it wasn't for that, my dad wouldn't be here, I wouldn't be here, none of this would be here. Because my grandfather could cook. Think about that. What kind of perspective is that? Imagine if he didn't know how to cook at 16. And it must have been good cooking, because my grandfather became a chef and all that stuff, but at 16 years old, I was playing video games all day, dude.
Yep.
My gosh, I can't imagine being trained how to shoot and kill and, shoot on sight and all this stuff, and learning how to, bayonet people and all this craziness. So, perspective, gratitude. But with that said, Dodi, I mean, what do you think about this whole thing? I mean, whatever we talked about, what you think, man?
I just think, the whole, gratitude thing is just straight up facts. So many little things people, and especially in Maui, I see some entitled people. Not everyone, obviously, and not everyone around my age is gonna be super entitled. Heck no. I'm just grateful that there's my parents out there, and I'm grateful that I've been born into this family. Of course, it could be way better, but always also it could be way worse. Just take it for what it is. You can't change that. Depending on what you believe, I can't just die and just be reborn or something like that. I'm just straight up very happy. I'm very grateful that I've been born into this family, and I may not be this funniest person. I may not have tons of friends, but for the ones I do have, for the few friends I do have, they're just great. I'm grateful for all of them, and I just like to agree with that. Just be grateful for all the little things, because some people, I think, just aren't grateful for much of the things they have. It's they have a car. It may not be the nicest. It may not be the newest model, but it's hey, your parents got it for you. Instead, they want to. Oh, I want to increase my budget, mom. Can you please work harder? Especially when they're immigrants. But that's a whole other thing about the whole immigrant stuff. But it's just grateful. I think that's I 100% agree with you.
Dang. And speaking about that, man, was there anything you want to ask me on air, on the podcast? Might help people, Dodi. What you want to ask, man?
I'd like to ask,
yeah.
Where did that strong motivation for Yanagida Fitness come from?
Oh. Well.
Because, I know how it started, but I just want to know where the mindset came.
The initial came from my grandmother dying from cancer because she was given the wrong medication. She was a perfectly healthy 80-something-year-old woman, lived in the farms, lived in the countryside, doing farmer work every day, active, eating healthy, right? Well, everything I was talking about, eating from the land, eating farmer food and all that. She was living and breathing that 7 days a week, both my grandparents. And one day, she had a little ailment on her ailment on her foot. And the doctor, instead of putting a cream on the foot, they gave her a different, pill to take. And they just told her to keep taking it for 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, she started feeling ill. And what did they find? They found cancer in the intestines. And it had spread too much, and they said she was going to go. And what did the doctors do? Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to your family. We gave you the wrong medication. We should have gave you the cream instead of the pill. And, I was young. I was 13, 14, and my dad, I think, took it hard. Right? I was like, man, how could you do that? You just poisoned a healthy person, and all we're getting is I'm sorry. Right? And she's going to die. And so my grandmother would always tell me, treat people really well. And I guess back in her days, right, in the 40s and 50s, women weren't treating that well, right? So she would always be like, treat women well, and take care of your mother, take care of your future wife. And I don't know, at 13, 14, I'm like, what are you talking about, Grandma? I don't know what you're talking about. That's like, wait. But all of these things, and she would say, take care of your body. Take care of your body, because you only have one body. And that was initially my spark for the fighting sickness and fitness and the whole gym thing. And that was pretty much the main thing. And now after that was probably me almost dying, right? From the whole liver thing and, drinking too much, making the wrong choices, and going down that dark path of drugs and other things and just dumb decisions. And I don't regret any of it, because without it, I wouldn't have the perspective I have now, and I don't think I would be as grateful and grounded as I was, because that kind of stuff, it brings you down to the ground. Yep. It brings you down to the ground. Addiction and all these crazy things that I'm not proud of, but I'm not scared. I'm not going to hide and pretend like it didn't happen, right? But it grounds us, and to never forget that grounding feeling, right? And that's the whole humility thing going back. So, because honestly, I just think of myself as just another person here on Maui, with parents that immigrated here, like many others. There's a lot of people that had it way worse than us, right? You know what I mean? It's way worse. So I have nothing to complain about, and everything to be grateful for. And I think that's the attitude too. My parents would always beat it in my head. Be grateful. And I was just like, what are you talking about? How can we be grateful? We don't even have food today. How can we be grateful? We live in a little 10 by 10 shack. How can and as a kid, it's like, man, how? And they were like, without getting all spiritual and stuff, they were like, practice your faith, right? Practice your faith. And my parents are Buddhist. We're all Buddhist. And practice your faith. Train your mind. Discipline your thoughts. And I'd just be like, what are you talking about? Of course, as a kid. But now it makes sense, right? Be at peace with yourself. Yeah. Don't run away from anything. And the things that scare you, stand up, be courageous, and run into it. And stuff like that. I mean, there's a bunch of other stuff that I just can't think of, but so many micro reasons why to start. And even, this is kind of going back now, even when I wanted to jump off the bridge right behind here, what is this, Waiahu Bridge, right? The Waiahu Bridge. before that, the flash happened. And I made a deal with myself as I took my foot off the bridge because I was sick and tired of being bullied, and I just felt like I had nowhere to go, no one to talk to. I told myself, if I'm going to live, like my grandfather said in World War II and all those hard times, live to serve. Be a samurai. Samu comes from the word serve, right? A warrior that serves, because you have to serve something better than you, more than just ourselves, right? Nobody who's self-serving goes anywhere super far. You gotta serve people, serve the community with new products, new services, new something, or better, faster, whatever. Help people get healthy, help, whatever it is. And so that's the deal I made with myself. And still to this day, whenever I'm having a hard time, whenever there is moments of doubt and massive fear and just difficult times where we almost got beaten down, I would take myself to the bridge. And I would remember the sensation. I'm getting chicken skin just talking about it right now, thinking about it. But I would go there to give myself clarity and perspective, right? Of what we're doing this for. Why are we doing this? And it's to help that person who we might not even get recognized for it, but we get those calls. Your team saved my life from extending my life 15 years. You helped me get off of type 2 diabetes medication, all the insulin, the metformin, all that stuff. You helped me do this. You helped me do that. You gave me life back. I can play with my grandkids now. All the little things. And then I tell myself, I can't die. I can't quit. And so, I don't know where that comes from. But it's also an old Japanese thing, right? You gotta beat the sword. Right? What do you do to build a sword? You put it in super hot temperature, right? Uncomfortable, hot situation, and you beat it. You beat the iron impurities. What do? You cool it down, you stick it back in the fire. Hundreds of times you do that. And so, with that said, we kind of went off on tangents about the samurai and all that good stuff. If you guys want to know more about that side of the story and the family, leave a comment below. I'll be happy to share that. But be of service. Be of service. With that, guys, help somebody out. Share this podcast with somebody. Send this to somebody who you love that maybe doesn't even need this, or actually might need something like this. Thank you for listening. Love you, and wishing all the best. See you in the next episode. Fighting sickness with fitness. Done.